I think our ability to remember names is one of the most important business etiquette
I agree.
networking skills there is, right? The phrase goes, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
What's the message we send to somebody when we forget their name multiple times?
So true.
Yeah, that they're not important or that we don't care. It doesn't matter what we say after that. There's this Maya Angelou quote that says, people forget what you say, they'll forget what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And so remembering names is so precious. At events, I'll do these demos, if there's time, and I'll have like 100 people stand up. We'll pass around the microphone. They'll introduce themselves, and I'll memorize their names, right? And I always tell people I don't do this to impress you. I do this to express to you what's possible, because the truth is all of your audience could do that, regardless of their age, their background, their career, educational level, financial situation, gender, history, IQ. We just weren't taught, right? And I know it's possible because I grew up with severe learning disabilities, very, very severe. When I was 5 years old, I had a brain injury in kindergarten class, rushed to the emergency room, knocked out. When I came out, I was a really bad learner. Like, I had processing issues, poor memory. I would have migraines every day as a 5-year-old. It took me 3 years longer to learn how to read because of my brain injury, which is very embarrassing. Really took a hit on my self-worth, my self-esteem, my self-confidence. When I was 9, I was slowing down in class so badly. A teacher, I was being teased, right? Because the teacher would have to repeat herself over and over again and I was slowing down the whole class. And I was being teased, and the teacher came to my defense and said, leave that kid alone, pointed to me and said, that's the boy with the broken brain.
Oh.
And you could say that label, and since she was very sincere, I had good intentions, I'm sure of it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But all I took out of it was like, I have a broken brain as a 9-year-old, right?
Right.
And then so every single time I did badly in school, which was every day, every single time I wasn't picked for sports, which was like every week, I would always say to myself, because I have the broken brain. Right. And that label became my limit. So adults have to be very careful of their external words because they often become a child's internal words.
That's right.
Right. And if people truly understood how powerful their mind is, they wouldn't say or think something they didn't want to be true. And that's not to say you have a negative thought and ruins your life, right? Any more than eating a donut will ruin your life. But if you eat that donut 50 times a day, like people have 50 thoughts, those same negative thoughts every day, every single day.
Right.
Those donuts, they would really pile up and create a consequence, right? Same thing with those. It's hard to create a positive life with a real, a negative mind. So first 3 keys to remembering names, and I'll make it an acronym, MOM, mom. Just remember mom.
All right.
So let's say you who are listening right now, you have trouble remembering names, but there's a suitcase that we have prepared for you. It has $1 million cash. I know you have an international audience, so whatever the currency would be there, tax-free for you, your favorite charity, it's yours right now if you just remember the name of the next stranger you meet. Who's going to remember that person's name? Everybody.
I know I am.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, everyone. And now how come all your listeners are memory experts all of a sudden? So as a brain coach, as a memory coach, I have to call people on their BS, right? Their belief systems. It's not true you can't remember names. The first M in mom is motivation, right? With the proper motivation, you can remember, because no one remembers all names, Ken, but nobody forgets all names either.
That's right.
And I believe genius leaves clues. When you do something well, there's a method behind what looks like magic. And I would say that, maybe there's some emotion or motivation. You're attracted to that person, or that person could be good for your business. You're more likely to remember them. The O in mom, I want everyone to do this. All right. If you're not like driving right now, just shake out your dominant hand.
Okay.
So everyone do this. Everyone do this in the live audience also. And do this. Make a fist. Put it to your chin. All right, everybody, where's your chin? All right, so the O in mom is observation, where most people go to their cheek if they're watching this on video.
Yeah, I did it, just followed you.
Yeah, and so the O is observation, more that a lot of people, they blame their retention when they forget a name, but it's really their attention. The art of memory is the art of attention. I mean, have you ever been at an event and you feel like the person's just not with you, or they're looking over your shoulder, or looking who else is important in the room, or what are they going to say? They're not just really there. And it's kind of cliche that people don't want your gifts, but they want your present. And And I feel like we could all do that better. And if we're just present, we're more likely to remember things like a name. Even if you do this brain exercise and think about the word, imagine the word listen in your mind, or write it down, or turn this into like a masterclass on brain performance and memory. Write down the word listen and then scramble the letters in your mind, and it spells another word perfectly. It spells another word perfectly. It spells the word silent.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I feel like, your brain is this incredible supercomputer, and it could, 87, 86 billion brain cells. Each has upwards of 10,000 synaptic connections. It's more connections potentially than there are stars in the known universe. It can remember one or two words like a name. But a lot of times we're not just paying attention, right? We're not listening. We're thinking about what we're going to say. Right? We're looking around. We're easily distracted. So the O is observation. So it's motivation, observation. And the last M and MOM are the methods. And I'll share one right now for everyone to use right away. That will dramatically help you in your next social outing to remember names. All right. So I'm going to give you everybody another acronym, and it's Be Suave. Be suave. All right.
Okay.
The next time you're out, you're at a conference, you're at a wedding, you're checking yourself in the mirror, I want you to say, I'm going to be suave, right?
Okay.
And the B is believe, right? Because you believe you can or believe you can't either way, you're right? Henry Ford said that. I'm in front of a good 250,000 people live a year as a speaker.
Right.
People will invariably pull me aside and say, "I'm so glad you're here." In the like whisper, they're like, I'm getting too old. I'm not that smart. I have a horrible memory." And I always say the same thing to everyone, Ken. I always say, "Stop." I put my hand up. I say, "Stop." If you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. If you fight for your limits, they're yours, right? And you think about like the beliefs we have. You can learn a great method on how to make money. But if your belief is money is the root of all evil, I have to hurt people to make money, it doesn't grow on trees, whatever, you're still going to be stuck in that box, right? Because all behavior is belief driven. All behavior is belief driven. And so even if you find yourself saying, I don't have a great memory, I would challenge everyone just to add a little word like yet at the end. I don't have a great memory yet. Mm-hmm. And it just feels different. It just lands different. Right. So that's the B. Be careful of because your brain is this incredible supercomputer, and your self-talk is a program it will run. So if you tell yourself, I'm not good at remembering names, as I'm sure some people are thinking, you will not remember the name of the next person you meet because you program your supercomputer not to. Right. So that's why we start with the B, swab. The B is believe. The E is exercise. And I just want to remind people that practice makes progress, right? Yep. So like I'm very good at remembering names. I've been doing this for turning 52. I've been doing this for almost 34 years as a coach, full time. I haven't done anything else. And I've seen a lot. And what I've seen also is that like I'm good at remembering names, but I haven't gotten better after the first couple months of practicing. Because once you know how to you know how to type, you know how to type. Right. You learn how to parallel park, you know how to parallel park. You know how to tie your shoes, you learn how to do that, then you could just do it. It's just second nature. And so E in Be Suave stands for exercise. And I don't mean physical activity, although that's great for your brain. We could talk about the science behind that. I'm talking about practice, right? So the bad news is it takes effort, exercise. The good news, not as much as you think. You do something a little bit each day for 30, 60 days, and it's just, you know how to do it. And so I encourage people to schedule this. And where can you practice? I mean, who doesn't, you have a relationship with a human being? Like it's just, or you're watching television, you can always practice. And it's like that Jim Rohn quote, what you practice in private, you're rewarded for in public. And I think the number one skill to master for all of us in this age of data, where knowledge is not only power, it's profit, the faster you can learn, the faster you could earn. Our ability to learn rapidly and translate that learning into action is the ultimate competitive advantage. Because when you can learn how to learn, you can learn how to focus and think and remember, understand, read faster, whatever it is, what can you apply that to? Everything. You apply that to medicine, to marketing, to management, to money, to martial arts, to Mandarin, to music. Everything gets easier in your life. It's like the lead domino skill. Yeah. So suave. When you meet somebody, the first thing you do, the S in suave, you say their name. Okay. All right. Because you get to hear it twice. Once from them, once from yourself. Mm-hmm. And also you want to make sure you heard the name correctly. So you don't want to have a 20-minute conversation with Ken and say goodbye, Ben. right?
Yeah,
Because
right.
because it could be loud. There's gonna be ambient noise. It means you heard it. Like this is like a Seinfeld episode. Wasn't there a Seinfeld episode where
I feel it's absolutely. I feel
he
like
was
yeah,
dating somebody intimate with her, and
yeah,
he forgot her name,
yes.
and it rhymed with a part of the female anatomy.
Yeah, it was an entire show. It's one of the
Right.
greatest of all time, and he's trying to guess and figure it out and get her to reveal
He's
it.
trying to go into her
Yeah.
purse and see her driver's license, or introduce her to George or Kramer and get her to say her name, and it didn't come out till the end. But it's a common challenge. So the first thing to mitigate that, you say the name. Yes, the
Okay,
you
we say
is
the
what?
name.
Yes, the
Okay,
you is you use it, and that's common sense, but it's not common practice. Use
okay,
it 3 or 4 times in the context of the conversation. Now you use it, you don't abuse it, right? Ken, thank you so much for having me on the show. Ken, very big fan. Ken, how can we make this amazing
right,
conversation? That would be an
right,
abuse, right?
right.
That's like the Seinfeld close talker episode. Like it's that
100%.
offensive. So
Yeah.
use it 3 or 4 times. It'll help you remember. The A in Be Suave. This is a good one. It's for names that are unusual, maybe names we haven't heard before. And that is A is ask. I want to remind everyone's favorite subject. It's not travel, entrepreneurship, or health and biohacking, whatever. It's themselves,
That's
right?
right. It's totally true.
And what can you ask about a person's name? I mean, there's so many things you could ask. Who are you named after? Where are you from? How do you spell it? What does it mean? I remember I was doing a training in the U.S. for the country's largest life insurance company, and the training director's name was Nankita. And in front of about 100 of her coworkers, I was like, "That's a beautiful name. How do you spell it? Where's it from? What does it mean?" And she paused. I was like, "What does it mean?" And she said, "It means graceful falling waters." And based on her coworkers' reaction, I was like, "Wow, how long have you worked here?" She's like, "This amount of years." With many of these people here, yeah, there are a lot of my friends. They were at my wedding. I was like, "Wow." And out of 100 people, I said, "How many people in the room knew that's what her name meant?" How many people raised their hand? Not one
Right.
person, and so that created a bond. It created over a decade of client work. And I'm not saying that's the only reason, but as they say, a name is the sweetest sound in a person's ear. So ask about a person's name. And then finally, the V and the E. The V is the big one, is visualize. We tend to remember more what we see. I mean, I bet a lot of your listeners and viewers, they remember the faces, but not the name.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You go to someone and say, "I remember your face. I
That's
forgot
correct.
your name." You never go to someone and say the opposite. You never go to someone and say, "I remember your name, but I forgot your face."
Of
Right?
course. Right.
But our visual cortex takes up more real estate. So we tend to remember what we see better. And so if we tend to remember the face or what you see, try seeing what you want to remember. So the V is visualize, meaning take a mental picture of the person's name and attach it to the person. So if a person's name is Mike, I'm meeting someone at a networking event, person introduces them as Mike. I imagine for a split second, they jump on the table and sing karaoke on a microphone in the privacy of my own mind. I'm not sharing this with Mike. But when I say goodbye to Mike 20 minutes later, I remember what I see. Oh, he was singing on the microphone. What's his name? Mike. And again, it's to overcome what I call the 6 seconds syndrome. Somebody tells you their name. You have 6 seconds max to do something with it. Otherwise, it's gone, right? As soon as that handshake breaks, it falls through the floor.
Wow.
So if a person's name is Mary, I just imagine them carrying 2 lambs underneath their arms. And because it's very childish, but who are the fastest learners? Children, right? You're using more of your imagination. Someone's name is David. Imagine a slingshot right to their nose, right? For David and Goliath.
Yeah.
Someone's name is
It's
Bob.
brilliant.
And they're bobbing for apples. And you could get really specific about this. You could go to your country's census bureau, see what are the 100 most common male names and female names, and then turn it into a brain exercise. Go to every single one. Jim, think about dumbbells or something that reminds you of Jim, right? I bet a lot of people, when they forget someone's name, how many people start going through the alphabet?
Yeah.
Does it start with an A? Does it start with a B? Does it start with a C? They get very nervous when they get to like W, right? Because they're the alphabet. But sometimes it works, right?
Sometimes.
And if a letter can remind you of the person's name, then imagine something that rhymes or sounds like or matches, then you're more likely to remember it. And the E in suave, the last is end. So it's really simple. You end saying goodbye using their name. Because Ken, if you could walk into a room of 20 strangers at a business event and leave saying goodbye to every single person by name, you're ending with their name, who are they all going to remember?
Oh, yeah.
right? They're going to remember
It's a
you, and
great
that's a
point.
standout. That's a standout skill. So
That
it's not
is
only
really good.
yeah. So it's not only what you know, and it's because we teach people how to learn faster, but it's also who you know, but also
Yes.
who knows and remembers you. And I think one of the
That's
ways of
great.
standing out is to remember people.